Hi everyone, I'm Ricky, and today I'm going to be showing you the solo mode for Nature. This is the game. In fact, we'll go and take a little look at this in a second, but one thing you'll notice is today I'm on the computer and we're looking at Nature on Tabletop Simulator. And I just want to give you a quick demonstration. Hopefully you've seen how the game plays through all the other videos over on the Kickstarter page, but I want to show you how the solo mode works. Right, before I do, let's have a quick look at the physical game. Nature's a game for 1 to 4. It's going to play in 30 to 45 minutes. The solo game is going to be very much on the shorter end of that scale. It comes as a base game, and then you can add 1 to 5 modules: flight, natural disasters, Arctic tundra, Jurassic, and rainforest. You can play absolutely standalone with just the base game. What you're looking at here is a prototype of the big box with all 5 expansions included. These modules will grow over the coming years, so the intention is that you have these 5 now to supplement the base game, but more may come out in the future. The base game of Nature includes the solo rules, and each one of these modules will add a number of new automated opponents for you to play against in the solo game. Let's have a look inside the box. It's probably gotten properly jumbled up. Now remember, this is all prototype, and this is the big box including all the different expansions. So various tokens. In this game, we're going to be evolving species in various different biomes. In the base game, there's a single biome. Modules will add more. But really what I wanted to show you here is some of the expansion stuff. So you start with the basic species. These are going to be replaced, by the way, with dials. These are like size tokens, because you can grow your species, make them bigger to eat more food. These are the different watering holes that you'll visit to buy food. We've got a lovely first player token. There's an Arctic tundra module. What I wanted to show you really was all these different cards. And again, this was prototype, so what I'm going to show you on the Tabletop Simulator is going to be very much updated with the latest artwork. You're going to be evolving species by adding traits to them, like tusked, fast, horned, plated. Okay, these are the basic traits from the basic game. Okay, and your species are going to compete against opponents over food and increase your population. We've got population tokens here. Increasing your population and feeding that population is what the game is all about. And understanding how to evolve to the ever-changing landscape of the biome that you're in, how your opponent is evolving their species, and using your species to support each other. Because a species can either be a forager, they're feeding on plant food, or they can be a predator, they're feeding on other species, and that could be your opponent's species or your own. Different modules are going to add different cards. Like here we have flight module, adding camouflage, flocking, good eyesight, nesting, seed dispersal. Jurassic is adding large predators become a bigger part of the game. Apex predators, clever predators, elusive, all this kind of stuff. All right, so there's all sorts. This is tropical rainforest. There's all sorts of new traits that each of these modules is going to add. All right, I'm sure the other videos have shown you all the different expansion stuff, but this is the physical game. Let's go and have a look and see, how does the solo play? So this is my side of the table over here down the bottom. This top end is going to be where Rani's sitting. Rani is our AI opponent, and here's her AI deck. Give that all a shuffle up. And the first thing we do in the game is determine how much food is going to be in our environment. So we draw a card, we'll flip it, and we can see, oh, this is a relatively low food environment we're going to play here. So I'm looking at the number in the bottom right corner here. Okay, this number here. And we multiply that by the number of players, which is 2, and we're going to place 2 times 2, 4 plant food in the watering hole. So if you want to come and play test this, the TTS mod is available. We're very much still in development, okay, tweaking the species. I'm just showing you the base game here. So this is 88 nature cards, 6 solo automa cards. There's our rule book. All right, we don't need that. Okay. This is the wonderful first player token. Okay, so typically you would tuck this up under this watering hole here in the physical game to remind you how much food you're placing every turn. There's only 4 turns in the game. If you want to add modules, every module that you add will add a turn as well. And you can play with 2 modules. So you can see with 5 different modules you can mix and match. Some modules are not compatible with each other, but with 5 modules I think it works out about 15 different permutations of adding modules. But of course you could just add a single module as well. Down here is a food bag. This is where we're going to score points. Now this is hidden information during a multiplayer game. In a solo game, well, it's kind of up to you whether you want to check how much food Rani is collecting, how much food you're collecting, or whether you want to leave it as a surprise to the end. If you do want to keep it as a surprise, you can actually change that in here. I think it's one of the toggles, something like tooltip. Yeah, so now when you hover, you won't see how much food is in there. All right, so little tip there if you want to playtest on Tabletop Simulator. Tabletop Simulator's got lots of little nuances that you need to get used to. I'm not used to them, but I'm trying my best. Okay, so how does it work? 4 rounds in the basic game. Here we've got our 4 food that's going to be available. Choose a starting player. Let's give Rani the starting player. It's kind of up to you really in the solo game. Do it randomly if you wish. It will certainly change the dynamics of the game. Because there's only 4 rounds, we're going to have 2 rounds each of being first player. But whether you get to go first on the first turn or the last turn really changes the game up, all right, in terms of how you use your tactics. So let's see what Rani does if I give her plus Taya, because I want to show you one of the changing dynamics of the game. All right, so on a regular game we're going to just follow the regular games of nature. All right, during a game we get a species. This is what a species looks like. It has a size token and it has a population token. This is not what a size token is going to look like in the final game. Let me just show you quickly what the size token looks like. It's going to be this dial. So rather than having to grab a new token every time your size increases or decreases, or if you flip from forager to predator, right, because your species can be one or the other, it's going to be this little dial that you can just, thumb it up and thumb it down. All right, nice, looks great. Now, get familiar with that shape. It's kind of a D-shaped, and we're going to use that to our advantage when we look at the AI solo cards. All right, let's get back to the game. So here's our size. We've got a size 1 species and we've got a size 1 population. All right, so this is our starting species. There's different levels of difficulty if you want to play a game. So I'm just going to show you the standard difficulty today because that's what you're going to be playing. So we'll give Rani a size 1 and population 1 species as well. But not just that, we're also going to give her an AI card. So each of her species gets an AI card. Now, because we want to give her an advantage, she actually starts round 1 with 2 species. Okay, it just gives our solo AI opponent a little bit of an edge. Okay, she's not as smart as a human. Incidentally, you can play against a digital AI that's been trained through like a neural net or something like that to play this game. So you can go and play that digitally. Check the Kickstarter page for that if you want. So if you want to play a different way solo and you want to play digitally, play against the computer and you'll get a different experience. All right, so there's kind of 2 ways to play solo if you like. All right, so here we go. Here's Rani. This is called the preparation phase. We've fed the watering hole, we've taken our species. Every round, remember there's 4 rounds, we're going to get a new species, size 1 and 1 population. The last thing we're going to do during the preparation phase is give ourselves a hand of 5 cards. Let me just take a seat at the table. Choose red. All right, so if you're playing, click your name, change color, pick red. This puts you down here, and then you can hit the number 5 and grab 5 cards from the nature deck, and that's your hand of 5 cards. Rani's also going to grab 5 cards. So we're going to place these up here. 1, 2, 3. Everything's so much faster in the physical game, and you'll have to forgive my incompetence at Tabletop Simulator. This is why I tend not to video with TCS very often. All right, there we go. So there's our starting hands. Now we're not going to see our opponent's hand, but The next phase of the game is called the adapting phase, and that's when we start to adapt our species. In introduction, I told you that you can adapt your species in different ways. You can add traits. So here we've got 2 opportunistic, we've got 2 horned, we've got clawed. But you can also use your cards just by throwing them away and ignoring what's written on them to increase your size or increase your population. Population means points, but the more population you have, the more you have to feed them, right? Okay. If you can't feed your population, you just lose them. So the danger of increasing your population is you just lose them because you haven't fed them. Now, one of the nice things about this design is very smart. Any population you lose, you don't lose them for good. In fact, you don't lose them per se. It's kind of like investing a card into a population. That population will come back on a later turn, and we'll see that shortly. But just keep that in the back of your mind. Sometimes putting in population that you can't feed is not necessarily a bad thing. All right, and Rani's going to use that strategy herself. Okay, adapting phase. Rani's got the first player token, so what she's going to do, let's have a peek at her species. She's going to show us, in a multiplayer game, your opponent will be adapting first. And for Rani, instead, what we're going to do is get some clues as to what she's done. In a multiplayer game, when a player adapts, they'll be placing traits face down, so you won't necessarily know what they've done. You'll know that they've discarded some cards for size and population. You'll know that they've placed some cards as traits. Okay. For Rani, instead, and this is where we can plan a little bit, is we get to look at the kind of things that she's going to do. This is going to come from repeat plays. You're going to get to learn what these species are. So she's got a hunter and she's got a propagator. These are just placeholder names at the moment. They may stick, but at some point during development, someone might say, do you know what? Let's think of some better names for these. So they may change. Also, these are very much prototype right now, but Tony, who's put these together, has done a fantastic job. I'm really pleased with the way they've turned out. So what I can see is that a hunter, now the more red symbols you see, the more inclined they are to turn predator. I know that the hunter is more liable to go predator. Interesting. Now there's 4 columns here. And they're divided by a vertical line here. This first row of columns here says in round 1, 2, and 3, we're going to be looking at this column. In the final round, so round 4, we're going to be looking in this column. Now, as I said to you, if you add modules, the final round might be round 5 or round 6, because you can add every module you add adds a round. Okay, so just know that all the rounds prior to the final we're looking in this column, final round we're looking in this column. But also there's a green paw and a red paw. If I've got a predator in play, if I decide to put a predator down, we're going to look at these columns. If I don't have a predator, we're going to look at these columns. So Rani's responding to what we're doing. She's going to change her behavior depending on whether we put a predator in or if we don't. Now at the moment, she doesn't know, but she's going to have a clue because we're going to go first. We're going to start to adapt our first. And again, this is just to give Rani a little bit of an edge and not to have her reveal all of her cards before we get to decide what to do. But we can use this knowledge, and as you play the game, you're going to get to know Rani. So when you see Hunter, you go, ah, I know that she's more likely. And these are priorities. Okay, these are priorities. And each of these, actually there's 6 suits. 1 suit won't be present here. That's the suit she doesn't favor at all. But from top to bottom, these are the suits that she prefers. So the Hunter prefers this suit. Second this, third this, fourth, and then fifth this suit at the bottom. And then last is 1 suit that's not present here, and that's this one here. Okay. Now, in fact, in the base game, you're never going to see that suit, and you're never going to see this suit. You're only going to see these 4 suits here. Okay. You're only going to see those 4 suits. So that's interesting. And when I say see those suits, I'm going to shuffle this back up again. But remember this card here. Let's take a closer look at it. In the bottom left is the card's suit. Okay, just here. So when Rani sees this suit, which is this suit here on the predator, propagator, and this suit here on the hunter, that says how much appetite does she have for giving this species that card. All right, so if Rani were to see this suit, we'll see, right, which of her species prefers this suit more than the others. This hunter has it in 4th place, 1, 2, 3, 4. The propagator here has it in 3rd place. So when she sees this card, she's going to want to assign it over here. All right, it's that simple. All right, so all we're going to do when Rani draws a card, she's going to try and stick social on the propagator. All right. If she sees a red icon, she's going to turn predator. If she sees this D-shaped icon like here, she's going to use that card to increase her size. Remember I told you the size dial is going to be this D-shaped. If she sees the symbol in a circle like here, like this population token is in a circle, she's going to discard that card and use it for population increase instead. All right, there you go. Right, let's see that play out. Let's see that play out. Now, what I'm seeing as the solo player here is I'm taking a look and I've got an idea. Okay, so hunter is, if we see this suit, remember there's only 4 suits in the base game, so it's a 1 in 4 chance that she'll turn her predatory if she sees this suit. Remember, she's got 5 cards, so odds are she's going to see it and turn predator, and she's going to use it to increase her population. Right? If this suit comes out, we know that she's going to favor giving it to the hunter, which means the propagator is not going to turn predator. So I already know this guy is staying a forager. Okay. Now, obviously, if I change my plan and put a predator in play, she's going to be using the right-hand side instead. Right. So these AI cards are telling you all sorts of information, and on your first play, let it kind of wash over you. And then as you learn to play more and more and you get deeper into the game and you want to do more, spend more time trying to figure out your opponent, then you'll start to look at this and go, okay. So, for example, if this suit comes out, I know this propagator doesn't favor it at all. The hunter's going to place it here as a trait. Okay. Makes sense? Whereas if this leaf comes out, this is in 3rd place. This one's got it in 4th place. I know these are going over here. All right. So cards like social are coming over here. These cards, which are cards, because I know these are cards like fast. These are going on the hunter. All right. Okay. There you go. So I can look at this and get an idea about what she might have done. And also the likelihood of her increasing her population or increasing her size. So I know if the leaf comes out, it's coming over here. The hunter's not going to increase its size. Interesting. That tells me something useful as it goes. So I'm going to, so it's my turn. I'm going to adapt. Let's place some cards down. There's not much food around, so I might go opportunistic. I think this is going predator. So there's a chance that this species is going to come under attack. Now, if this isn't going to increase its size, I can increase my size. So you can see, just by the fact I know what AI cards are coming out, I've got an idea about what she's doing. I know she's not increasing her size here, for example, and not here. So, and that's key, because in a multiplayer game with Rani first player, I would know that anyway, because they would have adapted already. Okay. So one thing I could do, let's say I don't want to use this card. I can discard it. So you can play a card as a trait, or you can discard to increase her size, discard to increase population. So let's increase my size. So I'm going to take a size 2 token. Obviously in the final game we'll just be thumbing up our dial from 1 to 2. All right. Now I know that predators need to be capable of taking down its prey, and if I get bigger, that this predator isn't big enough to take me down. Now there are traits that help him out, so there's a possibility, but looking at this, I don't think they're going to take any traits that are going to make them bigger or capable of taking down a size 2. So if this guy turns predator, he's going to have to look at feeding on his own species to survive. Right, so that's a good tactic. What else am I going to do? Well, there's 4 food. They're going to be feeding first, likely taking 1 food, which is going to leave 3 for me. Though they do have this trait here, which means they might go social, and social says 2 food when eating, so they might take 3, but I've got a feeling there's a chance they might not. Let's see what happens. I've got opportunistic, which means after any of our species forages, I can eat 2. So I might want to use 1. Well, this size 2 animal is going to take 2 food, so I might just use another card to increase my population. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So I've got a size 2 population. I've got 2 cards left. Now there is a 4th option for your cards, and that is in the bottom right corner here is a number 3. Remember we used it to populate the watering hole. On your turn, if you can actually discard this card to create food and add food. You can kind of sacrifice your cards as plants. So they're not just used for increasing or evolving your species, they're also used for evolving the water hole. So you can add food with your cards. So I've got a food 2 and a food 1. Well, that's not very good, just 1 food, is it? What I think I'll do is I might just discard this last one, increase my population 1 more time, because I think there's a chance that opportunistic might get to trigger. And I could go to 4. Or I could save it. Do you know what? The other thing about Claude is it adds 2. See these 2 paws? It adds. You can see up here. It adds 2 claws, which increases our ability to attack other things. But it also adds 1 shell. Do you see the 1 shell? So does opportunistic as it goes up here. So that increases your defense. So size 2 gives me 2 shells or 2 shields, if you like. I've got 1 here, that's 3. So they would need at least 2 more to come and successfully attack me. So it's possible, or rather this hunter, that I think is going to go predatory. Do I add this as another trait? Well, if I wanted to be ultra safe, I might do. And I can also, at a later turn, potentially flip this predatory. With those extra 2 claws, it's set nicely to turn predatory, which I know might be an option with food low as it is. All right, there you go. So I've adapted. Okay, let's see. That's my 1 species. Let's see how Rani adapts her species. Happy? Okay. Now, if it's the final round of the game, if we're in round 4, she's got 2 species. She's actually going to set off 2 food, or 2 cards straight away to use to populate the watering hole, right? And then she'll adapt with the 3 of the cards that remain. But we're not. We're in the first round of the game. We're looking at the left-hand column. Let's see what she does. So she's going to draw a first card. We'll flip it over and we'll check its suit. So there's the suit. Okay, so it's this cog, position 3, not at all. So it's coming over to the hunter. It has no circle, so she's not discarding it for population. It has no D shape, so she's not discarding it for size. She's taking it as a trait. Okay, so now there's some danger. If she goes predatory, she's got +2 here. She's up to size. She's got up to 3 attack, and I've got Well, I'm glad I did that now because I've got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 defense. You see, 2 from my size, +1 here, +1 here. So I'm kind of okay. Let's see what happens. Right, next card. Oh, it's another 1. So this is going on here as well. Oh, that's bad news. Each species can take up to 3 traits. All right, so there was a danger. Having this in here, yeah, I didn't think it through. Or I didn't see it. All right, this is kind of the defensive suit. It's right down the bottom here. She'd take it for population, but it's right at the top on the propagator here. So it's going to the propagator. She's going to discard it and increase the population because this has a circle around it. Okay, whereas here it doesn't. All right, so one population. She's increasing population as forager. Now there is a chance that she won't go predatory this turn. All right, we'll see what happens. Okay, here we see it. So there's the scavenging suit. It's higher up here than here. She's going to discard it for population because it's got a circle around it, but it's also red. So she's going to discard population because it had a circle. It was a red icon. So additionally, and this is something you can do too, right? There's a stack of predatory cards here. Anyone can grab one of these. Right, I could have grabbed one. To turn predatory, you don't need to use a card from your hand. It's just added voluntarily as a trait. All right, so the hunter's gone predatory. Wonderful for her. But it's a small size, so we'll see what happens next. All right, but she's got her 3 traits here. So what's going to happen with the next one? The last one, is horned. So we know already it's going to go to the propagator for population. So she's going to create 2 species. A kind of little foraging thing that's increased its population, is looking for food, and a wily little predator. Okay, that's the adapting phase over. Okay, after adapting, we move to the feeding phase. So a turn of the game is really pretty sharp as it goes. Rani's going to feed first. How do you feed? Right, so I'm going to show you how this, and again, I'm going through this slowly, just so you're getting this as a teaching game. So she's got a forager to feed. When a forager feeds, they take food from the watering hole equal to their size. So this is a size 1 forager. She wants to feed a forager that hasn't fed before any predators. So this guy's being fed first, and she takes 1 food because she's a size 1 predator, and she can feed 1 of her population. That's her turn of feeding done. Now it's to me. Okay. No, neither of us have saved any cards for feeding, by the way. If another, do you see this suit here? If this suit had come up again, she would have saved that for feeding because she's already got 3 traits. She can't add another. This one doesn't want that trait. She can't do anything with that card. She'll save it for feeding. Okay. All right. In fact, she'll save it if she only had predators. Predators don't need food from the watering hole, so she's a little bit smarter than that. If she has cards left over at the end of her turn and no foragers looking for food at the watering hole, she'll use those cards to increase the size of her predators. So there's a little bit of logic there to deal with that situation. Okay, but you'll internalize these rules soon enough. You know, as with all things, your first game with no one teaching you, especially, is hard. So hopefully you'll find this video useful. All right, that's her feeding done. Now it's time for me to feed, right? Because I'm second player. So I've got a size 2 predator here, size 2 forager rather. So I can take 2 food. Okay, 1, 2. But more than that, I've got opportunistic and clawed. I can resolve these traits in any order I wish. This one says take 2 more food when feeding. This one says anytime any of our species forages, it eats 2 meat if there's food still in the watering hole. So either of these traits will allow me to take the 3rd food I need. And I've taken the last food from the watering hole, and all my population have fed, which is good for me, bad for Rani. So we did a great little bit of strategizing. Now remember, I've been playing the game a little while. I figured out what I needed to do, but they've still got their hunter. What are they going to do? How are they going to feed their hunter? Now, a hunter doesn't feed here. It looks at our tasty species to feed. So she wants to preferably target one of my species before one of our own. And this is where things are going to be a little bit dodgy, because we count up my shields. I've got 2 from my size. I've got 1 from here, and I've got 1 from here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Can she match or exceed 4 with her claws? She's got 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5. She can. So she's going to want to grab and eat my poor little species. So what she does is she takes 1 population. That's how she feeds. The food that was on there, we'll just put that back in the bag. I don't get to score it. This population, I'll flip it over, and you can see it turns to bones. I've lost that population. This acts as meat. 1 token here for my species provides a number of meat equal to my size. So this is going to provide 2 meat. Okay, so it's nice and simple. Kill 1 of my population and you get size worth of meat, and that she can use to feed her population. Okay, not great. Now there are some other traits that would, now this guy, if it was a scavenger for example, it could scavenge and grab some food as well, but no, they didn't see it. Well, they did see one of those. It was yeah, there we go. When any species hunts, it eats meat. But propagators don't want to do that. They're not into scavenging, but some of these other species might. And what I'm going to do, because we're not going to play a whole game, we're just going to play to the end of turn 1 here for this video. What I'm going to quickly show you is some of the other species. We've got a scamp, we've got a glutton, we've got an enigma. Remember, the names are placeholders, and then we have the scavenger. All right, and each of these modules, the expansion modules, not in the base game, but expansion modules will add more of these species. So you see a scavenger here would have taken that, and that would have worked kind of nicely synergized with this one. Although, to be fair, what happens when a scavenger comes out? Because it prioritizes the scavenging suit, and this guy will only turn hunter if no one else does. What that means is it's going to try and take and fill up its traits with scavengers, but once it's got its scavenging traits, there's no point in being a scavenger, or no point in being a hunter to support a scavenger who hasn't become a scavenger yet. So it fills up its traits. Once it's filled up its traits, then it can't take any more. Then this guy will trigger. Okay, so there's a little bit of synergy and timing. So round 2, this guy will probably wait until round 2, see how things play out before turning predator to support a scavenger that sits alongside it. And there's a chance too, if you switch predator, you might be able to kill this guy, eat all of them. If you eat the last of its population, as it goes, I only lost 1, then that species goes extinct. So we're going to look out for that. All right. What happens next? Well, the turn comes back to us, so he's taken his feeding. It comes back to us. We've got no one left to feed, so we'll pass. It goes back to them. They want to feed their propagator. Their propagator finds no food. They don't have any cards, so one of their population starves. Comes back to me. I pass. Back to them. They starve. Okay. Now, what happens to starved population? We put them off to the side, and we're going to flip them over. I'll show you the start of round 2 actually, because it makes sense to just. I'll shuffle this back up to actually see what happens. I will play a full end to end here to give you the full experience. All right, everyone's finished feeding. I've lost 1 population, they've lost 2, but now we score. So to score, we remove all the food that we've eaten and we place it in our score bag. So I've got 2. Rani's slightly ahead because she's got 3. And that's it. That's the end of the round. Okay. So round 2, let's see. Now, incidentally, for a little trick, if you're struggling to keep track, what I tend to do is use size tokens, because there's 4 of them, to track which round we're on. So you can use that as a little trick if you like. All right, so we're on round 2 of the game. I'll just put that there as a little reminder that we're on round 2. So what happens at the start of round 2? We become first player. Now, do you remember, hopefully you remember, we each grab a size 1 species. So a size 1 species takes a size 1 token and 1 population. We'll do the same for Rani. And then any population that we had left over gets added to that new species. So do you see how they're never really lost, apart from in the final round? In the final round, you kind of change things up a little bit because you're trying to feed as much population as you can to score as many points as you can. Whereas in early rounds, you might be trying to develop your species, establish a species to deal with the food that's in the watering hole. We add 2 times 2 number of food. Remember, this changes from game to game. The numbers range from 1 to 4. And if you've got a 3 food card here, then this will be 6 every turn, right? That's a nice lot of food. If there's only a 1 numbered card up here, then that would only be 2 food per turn. And then things like scavengers, predators are going to do much better. That they might struggle if they don't have foragers to feed. But then you might be wanting to save more cards to put in the watering hole, and that's a strategy that you can use that Rani sometimes struggles with, so look out for that. Okay, so they get a new species. Rani takes a new AI card. We'll flip that over to see what she's bringing out. She's bringing out a glutton. Let's have a look at that. So a glutton likes the leaf suits, and I know that's things like social and opportunistic. We're looking at the left mouse column because we don't have a predator in play yet. I mean, we're contemplating it because our forager didn't do terribly well. But if we stuck with foragers, then this suit's not present. Remember, this new suit's not present. There's a chance she'll increase her size of the glutton. Because this is not going to take it as a trait. This guy won't take it. The glutton may just get big. All right, so the glutton is looking at this cog suit and going, that's going to make me go big. Big and greedy to feed my 3 populations, so we've got to look out for that. Let's grab our 5 cards. We're going to grab 5 more cards from Rani. The other thing is, if a species does go extinct, so if Rani for some reason had eaten all of these, I would have had the size tokens would have carried over. So a size 2 would have been added here, so this would become a size 3. The population would have been added, so instead of being a 2, it would be a 4. But also, these cards would go back to my hand, so instead of having 5 cards for round 2, I'd have 7. So you can see that it's okay, and this is a valid strategy to invest cards into your species because you'll get those things back even if they go extinct. And that kind of changes up in the final round because then you want to maximize everything into points. The other thing is when you get to the end of the game, it's not just points in the bag, you get 2 points for every species that survived. So look out for that too. Keeping species alive is a good way to grab extra points that may win or lose you the game. Okay, all right, turn is mine. I'm adapting first, so I'll get to play my cards and then Rani will play hers, and you've kind of got an idea about what she's going to do. So we know she's not going to take any more traits here. Okay, so she's ignoring anything without an icon. So these cogs won't be played by Rani. Okay, they'll instead default to the glutton, who may get big. All right. How would the predator increase in size? By getting this leaf icon? Well, I know those are going to go to the glutton. So the predator is going to stay small. How would she increase the population? By getting more of these kind of vulture-like suits. So there's a possibility this guy is going to increase its population, but that's probably about it. What about the propagator? Again, it didn't do very well last time, so it's likely to stay. Well, it's not going to go predator. I know that because of this. Okay, because that's always going to go to the hunter. The glutton's not going to go predator, so she's going to stick with 1 predator and 2 foragers. They may get greedy, But the glutton's going to take that, so no, they're not going to do that. They're not going to increase their size. So yeah, this thing's probably just going to do what it did last time and just increase its population again. She's probably going to struggle to feed these. Interesting. That's an interesting thought. So possibly this glutton's going to take all the food. The propagator is kind of just acting as food for her hunter. Remember, if she just keeps increasing the population here, she can just keep feeding her hunter. So there's not much I can do about that, except for maybe protect my own species so that she does use her own as food. So you can see there's lots of things going on in the game. Although it seems the rules are very simple, there's a lot of depth to just figuring out what's she going to do, how am I going to respond. When you have first player token, I'm going to get to feed first, so I really can empty this watering hole. And that's probably going to be my tactic. Is she going to be smart enough to save some cards? Possibly. I'm not sure if she will. Yeah, I think every suit is going to be profitable for her. I think so. I think so. Remember, there's only 4 suits really. Yeah, this one is going to go population. This one's going to go increase the glutton size. I mean, this maybe in the next round she'll start saving cards, because there's a maximum size 4. So once this thing's hit maximum size, those cards will just drop off and get saved for food as well. So it may just be she's going to make this thing big. Yeah, I'm not even sure if this one's going to survive, to be honest. A big can, is there enough food to feed a large glutton? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I should turn predator. That's an interesting thought. But then one population here is going to give 4 food. There's an opportunity here for me to just increase this and make a small predator of my own that feeds on this glutton. Interesting. But there you go. There's lots of stuff going on in this game, and that's how the solo mode works. Rani's probably going to lose at least 1 or 2, maybe 2. If I can empty this, which I'm going to, I think she's going to lose both of these, which means round 3 she's going to have a large, big population, and it's going to be whatever this is. So it's possibly a scavenger, in which case they're going to work really well together in round 3, and I might struggle, especially with all that population she's got coming. So I've got to look out for that. And obviously adding modules is going to add some cards to this deck. Different types of species are going to come out that are going to try and focus on the biome or the environment or the different traits that those modules are bringing. So, and I'm currently developing those, so that's a work in progress. You may get some updates on that as the campaign progresses. It depends how far along we get the development. All right, I think I've gone on long enough. I hope this is a great little demo for you. I've taught you the rules. Why don't you go and grab the TTS mod and have a go yourself. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the Kickstarter campaign, and thanks for backing.